Yeah, she don't need approval. She don't need permission. She just is clocking.
Unfiltered and United, a space where we can have honest, unfiltered conversations where we're speaking about growth. And today we have a very special guest, Candace Gesund. Welcome.
Thank you.
Today's episode is called From Growth to Gratitude. And you know, Candace, growth is something that we all want, but you know, let's be honest, it doesn't come cheap. No, it comes through heartbreak, through disappointments, and all those negative things. But if we look back, it's those very moments that shape us into the people that we are today. So, you know, when I asked you two words to describe your journey from the start up until now, and you mentioned it was growth and gratitude. And I had to go back and sit and think, you know, how does those words resonate in my life, you know? And then the first words that came when I thought about growth, the first words that came was success, was promotions, was achieving goals. But then when I sat down and really went deep into what growth really means, you kind of realize, or I kind of realized that yes, those things happen, but that is not where the growth happened in my life. You know, growth came where you had to give up, or you had to let go of things, or where I had to let go of things, I had to let go of people in order that did not, or I had to let go of these things that affected my peace in the end. You know, growth for me was most importantly learning to love myself. Now, and growth was learning to become the woman that I am. And tell us about some of the experiences in your journey where you realized that growth wasn't happening, but you only realized that when you had to look back and see that, you know what, I'm not growing.
Yeah, okay. Firstly, thank you for having me here. When you first asked me, I actually had to go sit and think, do I want to do this? I was a bit skeptical, and not because I was scared or I had fear or anything. It was mostly because when it comes to, and the topic that we are obviously discussing, when it comes to things like this, you're a bit hesitant sometimes, and it can have a positive effect and a negative effect. And then when we speak about growth, I think if I look back at my journey and where I come from, it has not been an easy one. It has been difficult, many disappointments, many heartbreaks, many pain, and all of those things. But growth to me, and I think when we define certain terms, we can all define them differently according to our own lives. So growth to me was not necessarily growing from one chapter to the other, but it came with trials and tribulations and all of those things. And if you look at the Candace today, and you look at the Candace back then, it's two different people completely. And I always say that people say, oh, but I know you. You're the Candace of 10 years ago. You don't know me anymore because I'm not the same. And I don't even say that boastfully. I don't even say that with any type of ego or arrogance. It's just that growth allowed me to say that. So obviously I come from a lot. If there's one goal that I have one day, and that will be to actually write a book because I think I can. So, like I said, there's many specific things that I can obviously pinpoint that has brought me to where I am today and the growing journey that I find myself on. And that would obviously be the fact that one of the things that was a turning point in my life was becoming a mother at a really young age, and a single mother at that. And back in the day, Lynn, when I was only 17, so back in the day, the stigma attached to that kind of thing.
Yeah, having a child in your teen years.
Yes, on school was still something that is not commonly was not something that was commonly spoke about, or all of those things. And I'm not saying it's okay now. I'm not saying it's you can do it now, but I'm saying it's more common these days. So prior to that, there was lack of direction, not knowing, and I'm not saying I was lost, but there was just lack of direction. And obviously, post pregnancy and becoming a mother, I then realized that okay, you're now responsible for another human being. So you need to step up your game, basically. And then also, other pain and other heartbreaks, relationships, coming out of abusive relationships, coming out of things that if you think back about it then, I shouldn't have been here. I actually should have been dead. And I can say it now with a smile on my face, but looking back, it was probably the worst thing ever. And so people see the Candace now and they're also like, how did you do it? I didn't. I lost my spark. I lost myself. But the most important thing is that I got up.
Yeah.
So that is the growth that I can define, that I can look back on, that I can say there's been growth, and there's been a lot of growth from back then to who I am and what I am today.
Tell me, how has that journey been for you from, becoming a parent in your teen years? You were still on school, and now you need to now learn how to grow up, because you were forced to grow up because I have a child now. How has that journey been for you?
Looking back at it now, I would probably say becoming a mother at that age was one of my toughest journeys ever. And obviously the age and the period that I found myself in was not ideal, So it was tough, it was difficult because you had to balance school, you had to balance being a mother, and coming from a single parent household where I was only raised by a single mother, made it even more difficult. Nevertheless, my support system, my mother, my sister, my brother, and my village, the friends that I had, and I'm fortunate to say that I still have the same group of friends today. My village was phenomenal. They stepped up. And I think that made things much more easier because there was always a million hands willing to help. But what we tend to forget when we always say there's a village is that when you go to bed at night, you are just a 17 or 18-year-old trying to figure this thing out. So you are doing the best that you can, but when as like they say in Afrikaans, as jy in jou binnekamer is, then that is when things get real. So that is definitely the turning point in my life. Becoming a mother wasn't easy, but I did it. I'm still doing it with the help from everyone else, and I'm grateful.
You were a teacher at once. How has that journey been for you, and how did it come from going from being a teacher into where you are now?
So I've always wanted to do teaching. I'm passionate about education, about children in general, and about shaping the lives of children. And I think that stems from my own past experiences, always wanting to be there for the next child. So anyway, I was in teaching, and I loved every moment of it. I loved teaching. I love, just being the support. And I'll say fortunate to be at a school that is in the community that I come from. And obviously I know the struggles, I know all the things that happens in our community. So to be able to relate to those children on their level was something that I really cherish. I made a post the other day where I said that my very first class have matriculated this year. And I'm still in contact with many of them. And I think,
Look, not just your very first class, but your daughter also matriculated.
yes, but I mean, if
So
if
congratulations, Kylie,
Thank you.
if you're watching.
yes, the thing is, that was my register class. So Kaylee was the same grade as what they are, but I mean, those were my babies, you know. So that would tell you that is an indication of the role that I played in my life. So I was in teaching, and I then became actively involved in politics. And that is something that came unexpectedly. Like I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would ever become involved in politics, because I think many of us don't come out of political backgrounds and homes where your parents used to actively speak and be involved with us. So it was something new. I then went from teaching, I became busy. So I was a teacher and I was doing politics as well. And it came to a point where I had to choose, basically, because I traveled a lot. I worked a lot, and it came to a point where my classroom became a classroom / office. And not only was I doing injustice to the children itself, but for myself and my sanity and all of that, I had to make a conscious decision as to what it is I want to do. So I took a leap of faith, a very big leap of faith, because I didn't know where I was going to find myself. I then went into politics full time, and yeah, I'm still here now.
Will you ever go back to teaching?
I get this question a lot. So I actually got a call from my old school not too long ago, asking me to come help, and the word help was actually in inverted commas, because it wasn't about helping, it was about me coming back. And that's a difficult one. Yes and no. I'll say no, because teaching is not what it used to be. It's not you just going into a classroom and teaching and shaping futures and shaping learners. It has now become an administrative task where you're actually part-time working as an administrator. So your teaching time is cut completely, and you have a million other things to do. So that would be the one reason. The other reason would definitely be that the flexibility is not there.
Yeah.
And I think a few months before leaving school, you kind of you feel boxed. And there should at no point be a discouragement to young teachers or incoming teachers into the profession. But you become boxed because there's also a lot of politics inside there. And you just need to be there. So for me, being on the outside and seeing things from the outside into the school is a better perspective to me. So no, I don't think I'll ever go back. If I should ever go back, then I don't know. Then I don't know. But I always say, in the profession or the career that I find myself in now, sometimes it can be messy, but sometimes, many times, it can be very much messy. And I love what I do. I genuinely love what I do. But should push come to shove, I always have something to fall back on. And yeah.
Some of life's lessons is wrapped around pain, like There are times when I speak about myself. There are times where I prayed for things that I did not get, when I speak about the pain, relationships that had to end, or in my case, a marriage that had to end, um, the infertility and all those. But when I look back now, it's those very experiences that has taught me something. And I realized that, the lesson was not getting what I wanted. It was becoming who I needed to be, and in your journey, what were the challenges that has taught you the biggest lessons?
In terms of my own life?
Your own life, or whatever you went through, what has taught you the biggest lessons in those moments?
I think everything. I think there's no specific aspect or situation that I can point at and say, that has shaped me or that has brought me, because everything plays a role. You see, sometimes when we question things that happen.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, it feels like my world is falling apart. It feels like, I don't deserve this. And yes, we don't deserve all of those things that we might have gone through. But I'm almost certain, and I know that everything happens the way it should happen.
Yeah.
And everything falls into place. And in your case, perhaps, you might 5 years down the line be in a completely different setup, when you say setup to a situation, and you're going to look back and say, but, that had to happen.
Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here now.
Exactly. And so everything that has happened in my life has shaped me somehow. If I hadn't become a mother at that age, would I have sat here today? Would I have still been lost and outside living my best life? So those are the questions, and that is where perspective comes in, and it's the same with even the relationships that I was in, the abuse that I suffered, the trauma that I suffered, the physical and emotional abuse, all shapes you to become a better person, because you can now go out and I'm no longer accepting it because I've been there before, So nothing specific, but all of it played a role, and as much as you still suffer from some trauma and things and all of that, I now can put all of those things into perspective and say, okay, so this was supposed to happen because of X, Y, and Z. So yeah.
Now, if you can go back now, what would you tell the Candace of 10 years ago?
Sure.
I think you have to tell yourself this.
Yes, listen, I probably scold with her first because she was making decisions that was not it was not the best. But firstly, I'll tell her she's gonna make it. Everything's gonna be okay. That this is not the end. But I'll scowl with her as well a lot. If I look back at 10 years now, I don't think that I even would have been sitting here, have a story to tell, have a testimony, or that is what I call it. So I'd want to encourage her, and I think moving off point a bit is the person that I am now. I wish I had someone like that in my life back then. I had phenomenal people, I had great friends who I have, great people, family, and all of that. But, that push, that person that says, don't do this because this is going to end like this. Don't do that because that's going to end like that. Don't take that journey because that. But then again, we needed to do that. But I would tell her that you're going to make it, that you're going to be okay, that you're going to be successful. And I'm definitely not now where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And that is what this retreat does. So I'll tell her to stop the things, to yeah, to just to just stay positive, to do what she needs to do, and to
You know, most of the time we find it easy to be grateful for things when things are going well. You know, but what about the times when things are going hard, you know, and true gratitude is not pretending everything is perfect, but you know, it's recognizing that even in the difficult seasons there is something to be grateful for. You know, what is some of the things that you're grateful for today that you've taken for granted for back then?
life. If I could put it in one word, I think that's the only word that came to mind immediately was life. Um, in general, because now I'm at that point of adulthood, and if you follow me, you know that I think about adulthood a lot because I was never ready for this. Like I wasn't prepared for this. But anyway, um, so at this stage where we find ourselves in, we tend to complain a lot about simple things, and we have crash outs and all of that. But in all of that, you need to be grateful, for life itself. And if I think back now and I look at the physical scars, then I can be absolutely nothing else but grateful. Showing gratitude for my life, because like I said, things could have been much worse. I could have not been here, and my daughter could have grown up without a mother. So that is, I'm always grateful for life. There's a million other things that I'm grateful for in my life and that shapes my life, but for life itself, for the fact that I'm still here, that I still have a chance, that I have another opportunity, and there's still that my book is not done, my story is not done, and there's definitely much more to come.
You know, to that teenage mother who will be watching this, what do you have to say to her?
You're gonna make it. It all depends on you. You see, we all have choices in life, and sometimes we don't make good choices. We don't make the right ones, and that's okay too, because there's no manual to anything. And you are already in the situation now. There's going to be judgment. There's going to be mockery. There's going to be things that people say, and it won't always come from strangers. It's going to come from your own people too, from family, from friends, from acquaintances. But you need to know that you are now responsible for another human being. You're responsible for an adult, so you have a choice. Are you going to stay down? Are you going to become a statistic? Are you going to become a mother that is always going to blame, everyone else? You're going to blame the father. You're going to blame whoever else for where you find yourself. Or are you going to make the choice, to become better, to give yourself and your child a better future? So it's your choice what you're going to do about it. But what I can say is you are going to make it. If I could do it, you can do it too. We come from different backgrounds and circumstances and households, but it's doable. You are able to do it, but it all depends on you. So you're going to make it. Ensure that your education always comes first. Finish school, and that is another thing that I'm very passionate about is, dropping out because you are now a teenage mother. But that is a topic for another day. But finish school, do what you need to do to educate yourself, to get a good job, and to be able to provide for yourself and your child. And never think that you did anything wrong. Never think that you're a failure. Never think that you're not good enough. And never label and allow other people to label you as anything. Because everything happens for a reason. And like my daughter and my pregnancy was my turning point in my life, yours could be too. It all depends on you.
You know, and sometimes the blessings is not the outcome. It's, you know, it's who you become through that journey.
Yeah.
You know, like if we look back then to when a teenager fell pregnant, your mother had said, you must sit with that child. I'm not going to sit with that child. And if we look at today's ones that are falling pregnant, some are dumping their babies in drains, you know. And okay, I think we need to change that topic. But yeah, it's what we go through. That is where the blessing lie, you know, the lesson lie. And also, it's not the end. If it is that you should fall pregnant, you know, there are other options. There's adoption, you know. There's a lot of options if you do not want, you know, that child. There are many women who are willing to adopt as well. But yeah, as we come to an end, Candace, what else do you have to say to those listening?
I think life is a journey that no one really has a a guide to. And I think we really just need to make the most of what we are dealt. Because unfortunately, we're not all dealt the same cause. And we don't always come from the same kind of background. Some of us come from harsh backgrounds, and some of us come from backgrounds where you were fed with a golden spoon, and that's okay because you know there needs to be a balance. But I think the thing is just that you always just try to do your best. Please try to do the right thing, and we're always going to make mistakes, and mistakes doesn't mean that you're a failure because from mistakes comes lessons. So basically, just do your best at all times. Try to do your best. Try to be a better person. To be kind. It's not always easy to stay positive in the current world that we find ourselves in. But yeah, just try to stay positive. And if you don't know where to go, if you don't know where to run to, then I think God is your only. Not I think I know God is your only solution.
How has your friends played a role in all of this?
In my growth, who I am, I have the same group of friends forever.
That is actually the next question I wanted to ask. Because sometimes in your growth, in your journey, you kind of need to cut a lot of people.
So then I have had, obviously because I was a living my best life person, I had a lot of friends. With the group of friends that I have now, I had a lot of friends. Those people have now become acquaintances or someone that you greet. But the group of friends that I currently still have has played a vast role in my life. And looking back at all of us, I was telling this to someone one day. People would have maybe thought, you know, and we are now fortunate to all be professional people in professional positions. And we have made something of our lives. So I think that is one of the things that played a big role in my life, that I've always had people that I could fall back on, that their family became my family as well, and that they were always just people ready to help, ready to assist, ready to do what they could to make my weight lighter and vice versa.
Any last words
Um,
before we say our goodbye? Richard?
hey, there was actually something that a quote that I got. I just
Yeah.
want to read it quickly. Um, yeah, it was actually very profound. It says, never be ashamed of your story. It might have chapters filled with pain, setbacks, and uncertainty, but those chapters are proof that you survived. Growth is not about where you started, it's about having the courage to keep moving forward. Amidst the chaos, amidst the pain, amidst the depression, amidst the disappointment, amidst everything else, just move forward. You know, we can fall, and the only thing that's important is getting back up. When the storms are around you, allow the storms to be there. They're going to shape you, but get through it. Don't stay there. So I think that is important, and that is actually something I tell myself all the time. And we are not perfect. I'm not perfect. And I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm trying. You know, I'm in the process of becoming, and that's important.
You know, it's so ironic you said that. There's something I wanted to say earlier, and I didn't even get a chance. You know, there were seasons, you know, in my life where I felt stuck and I felt disappointed, you know, especially in that infertility season of mine, you know, and most of the time there were times or there were moments where gratitude was impossible.
Yeah.
You know, and no, but over time I began to realize that, you know, gratitude it wasn't just about ignoring the pain, but it was about acknowledging the pain and the blessings, you know. And when I realized that, I became grateful. The things that I became grateful was, you know, one of the things you actually just mentioned it now, it was becoming her, me becoming me. That was one of the things that I started becoming grateful. And you know, the people you meet along the way, the people that's been in your life all along. In your case, you had your friends. You still have the same friends. Where, you know, some we kind of share some of the same friends.
Yeah.
You know, and those, for me, I don't even call them friends anymore. They become a part of my family. You become a part of my family. I think we've been how many years together now? You know,
Lost count.
lost count. So I've become grateful for those are the things that you kind of become grateful for. And that it was so profound that you read that thing now. It's just something that I thought about. But yeah, as we come to an end, you know, I just want to say for those of you watching, you know, it's not the end. You know, it's not the end. Reach out. It's okay to speak about it. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And, you know, find that village for you. Find that people that, you know, you can go and sit and talk to about what's going on in your life, you know. You know, in today's life, it's very difficult to find the right people to speak to, because tomorrow it's all over social media. You know, and social media has become such, it's a good thing and it's a very bad thing, especially when it comes to the bullying and that is why a lot of people do not speak out.
Exactly.
You know, but like I said, you know, try and find that your village, the ones that matter to you, the ones that you know will be able to cover up for you when you're not there and someone else is speaking about you. So from me, Lynn, thank you for joining another episode on Unfiltered and United, and we'll be back on Thursday with episode 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who am I that the Lord of all the earth would care to know my name? Who am I if the bright morning star would choose to light the way of my ever-wandering heart? Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done. Not because of what